Right now, though, my next guest says that key ratios have kept her on the right side of this market. I'm going to bring in now Market Gauge, the managing director, Michelle Snyder. All right, Michelle, tell us about these key ratios that you're referring to.
Well, right at the beginning of May, when, of course, we heard the cliche, sell in May, go away, we were busy looking at things like how the S&P is performing against the long bonds or how the junk bonds are performing against the long bonds. And these two ratios in particular, and there's one also about the S&P and utilities, really give you an idea of the risk, whether it's on or off or neutral. And they were all flashing risk on at the beginning of the month when people were getting so negative. So basically, it told us that we should not get bearish. We should maintain somewhat of a neutral to friendly stance. And then, of course, as May progressed, so much opportunity started to emerge. And here we are now in almost the middle of June. And these risk factors are still showing risk on. We've had a little bit of dips here and there, but overall they're strong. And until that changes, I don't see any reason to get all that nervous.
One thing that you have talked about, and I think is still one of the concerns you have, is another potential round of inflation somewhere down the road. It's obviously you've been riding this market, you're in the great names, but when does this start to influence your next move?
Well, there's a couple of things. Number one is, this whole market rally made a lot of sense as people believe that the Fed, even if they raise a little, they were basically done with the bulk of it, that inflation had cooled, that tech was undervalued, that the economy contracted enough. And so the demand destruction that the Fed thought was going to happen in order to bring down the inflation rate and really basically raise up their jobs hasn't really happened. And that's why, by the way, I think the Fed's going to take maybe a skip here. I certainly would if I were them. Victory lap, yay, yay, we averted a recession. But in that complacency, there rides danger. And that's because we're talking about raw materials that are still in very short supply. I know in this country we're ready to go manufacture, which is great, but the shovels are on the ground, which means we still have shortages of key materials, including food. And Mother Nature has been so incredibly unpredictable, and that could wreak havoc. So I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen, but it has been a nagging concern. I heard you say right in the beginning, Charles, wall of worry. That is certainly how we feel. Let's have fun, but be smart as traders. And that's why the retail space is doing so well, because they've learned a few things about that.
You're absolutely right. So every morning this week, I wake up and Wall Street is starting to grudgingly put buy recommendations on some of the names they ignored. You own Meta, you own Broadcom, you're in NVIDIA, you're in AI. For folks who are on the fence still and been looking at them and like, golly, did I miss it? Is it too late to buy them at this point?
Well, actually, maybe not. But again, it's always going to depend on A, time frame, and B, risk. So looking at these charts with a fresh eye, let's just take NVIDIA, perfect example. When you had that earnings gap, you now established a new base, a new place to risk from. So if you want to take a chance out as it's in this sort of consolidation period, thinking that this is really a $500 stock, then at least you know where you're wrong. And that's how we would approach it. And even though we've taken profits along the way, sometimes it's those tails when something goes really parabolic that make the most money at the end of the game. So that's kind of how I'm feeling. I mean, Meta maybe not as strong, but still looking good. Maybe a dip would be more enticing to me there. I was looking at AI, same thing. But, Avco, Broadcom, even Tesla, all these stocks right now, they're on their own fumes. And I don't see, unless something really disastrous happens, like I said, buy opportunity may still be there after this period of consolidation, but always know when you're wrong.
All right. Michelle, thank you very, very